Adam, I don't know if you saw the message, Adam. Fred would like to get that link for that song. He loves it. But hey, folks, let me tell you what I'm thinking. I want to get to the point. I worked last night, figured out the numbers and how to make money in this market. And by the way, if you're in my SPX, I've got a new trade today. I'll be releasing at 3:30. I love it. Uh, I've been working. Fred and I developed it here on uh, SPX during this one-on-one. I think you're going to love it. So pay attention to this SPX room then. I think what I would tell you is that the market has got resistance from 68.29 to about 68.45 area. You got to get above that to go higher, and we'll see how it develops. I also will tell you I miscalculated the election. I thought it was going to be closer in New Jersey. Obviously, I read the hype, I didn't really look into it that much other than the fact I just missed it. Last night, about 8:30 or 9, once they announced the winners for New York, New Jersey, and the um, Virginia, okay, then the market made its low and it's been climbing ever since. And I think what I learned from that is that use the Cauchy, and I've told you all about that before. The prediction markets are pretty accurate. One thing concerns me in the prediction markets right now. The Supreme Court is going to hear the case on tariffs today. I would think it would be higher than 50%. It's been fluctuating between 40 and 50. So that bothers me a little bit because if that comes out negative, we're not, that's going to hurt us, is all I'm saying. Okay. And I think that's something that you got to think about. Uh, Watch those comments. There was a press conference today, or not a press conference. Today at 5 o'clock, President Trump will be on TV, interviewed, I think, by Brett Baer, if I heard it right. You want to tune into that if you get a chance. Uh, I'm feeling pretty good about 3 days. If we've seen our low, then once we clear the high, we'll be off and running for November. Uh, I will probably take an additional position if NVIDIA gets above the numbers Jonathan's going to cover. I've got it pretty well dialed in. I'm going out to December. I might even go out to January with another option play there. But there's risk involved in trading. Past performance is not indicative of future results. In my opinion, uh, David just said that the Cauchy just dropped to 29%. So that's not good, folks. That's not good. All right, next. Train and trade Monday through Friday. Uh, all trades will be tracked in T-Buzz Talk. I posted some really good stuff, and I'm gonna have Jonathan hit it pretty hard uh, this morning on the education portion. DTItrader.com/TNT. Today's focus: how the market sets the tone in the first 3 days. You're going to we do this every month. We try to go through this to show you the power of these first 3 days. I think we've got a pretty good setup for you to learn about. You need to pay attention. It will help you, and we'll take it from there. All right, Jonathan, I'm going to let you take it over from here. I'll be watching. So I'll be looking at the market, looking for a break up or break down based on what I'm seeing. I didn't like hearing that 29%. I can tell you that. Take it away, Jonathan.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Let's take a look at Tom's TNT postings this morning. This is what he does every single morning inside the TNT program. Had a lot to say this morning, a lot of good information. The first thing Tom posts in the morning, this is in the early morning hours, 5 a.m. or so Eastern time, every single day. Tom will post a snapshot. I got a couple questions here to answer. And yeah, John, I'll post a link to the slides here in a second. The first question on the board there, it plays off of what Tom just said about have we seen the low, the low from the first 3 days. And the kind of the one of the early signs of perhaps have you seen the low is have we gotten above the midpoint? So the first question on the day is the S&P trading above the midpoint? At the time of the posting, 5 or so this morning, the S&P you can see here was trading at 67.90 and the midpoint was 67.77. So if you write this down, all right, write this down. If a market cannot get above its midpoint, odds are you haven't seen the low. But if a market can get above its midpoint, then the odds start to increase that you've seen the low. So that's a good question to ask every single day, and you can do some tape reading from Tom's posting. He does it all for you. You just got to know how to kind of look at it and think about the markets here. There's the slides in the chat. The next question is, okay, so we're above the midpoint. We made a new low overnight. Now we're above the midpoint. This is at 5 a.m. So that's, things are looking a lot better than we were making those lows for sure. But have we got it back above the opens, the RB open, the open of the day? Well, at the time, the open of the day was 68.01. So we were still weak below the open. Now, have we got above that open at this point in the trade day? It's now 11:10 a.m. Are we above last night's open of 68.01? Yes, we are. We're trading up here at 68.25. How about did we make a new high over the overnight high? The overnight high you see on the table there was 68.06, and we're now at 68.25. So we did make a new high, and the high of the day is now 68.31. So these are all questions to ask the first thing in the morning. Okay, let's see what the market did overnight. It went up to a high of 06. It went down to 67.48. It opened at 68.01. First thing I tell myself is, all right, well, we opened here. We went up 5 points, but we went down 53 points. So overnight action clearly said we were more bearish than bullish. And so that brings into question, where are we now, and are we above the midpoint of that range? The answer was yes. So things were looking better. The next step is, have we gotten back above the RB open or open today? At the time, it was no, but now we have. And then, if we get back above the open of the day, can we make a new high? Again, at the time, the answer was no, but the answer now is yes. And that's something you can do every single day just from this one snapshot. And write down the numbers if you need to, set alerts on your platforms if you need to. But are there any questions on what I just covered and how you can take Tom's this one simple posting in TNT and use it for your daily analysis and your trading? Any questions on any of that? All right, let's move on to Tom's next posting. He said the 2-day high, this was actually a 3-day high was 69.09, and that low of 67.48 came from this morning or overnight. So it was actually on day three's low, 67.48. But the more important part of all that is the midpoint 68.29. So just a reminder of yesterday, we talked a lot about midpoints. And we learned that if you take the high number of 69.09, you add in the low number of 67.48. I'll show you the calculations on this. 69.09, should be able to see my calculator now. Add in the low number of 67.48. Then you divide those by 2, you get the midpoint, 68.28.5. And Tom just rounded up there to 68.29. All right, so you can see the midpoint from our first 3 days of the month is 68.29. So what does that mean? Well, that means you should expect resistance at around the 68.29. The midpoint is a very common retracement that traders use, either a retracement down to the midpoint or a retracement back up to the midpoint. And if you're retracing back down to the midpoint, you should expect support. If you're retracing back up to the midpoint, you should expect resistance. And if we go look at the S&P, this was a moment ago, we're still right around the same levels, though. You can see that that resistance has held true, 68.29 resistance. Any questions on that part of this presentation today? All right, so let's add these two things together. We talked about, can we make a new high? We did. If we can make a new high, you start to ask yourself, where should we expect resistance? We came up with 68.29, which was the midpoint from the 3 days. Let's keep going. Let's talk about the Magic 5 today. This is the posting. Tom said this is an aggressive play. All right, when I see that, I kind of look at that and say, okay, Tom's ready to trade, but aggressive to me means that all signs are not a full go. So you might be ready to trade, but keep in mind, maybe it's not a full boat type of trade. This is more of an aggressive approach, meaning the winds aren't, fully at your back, if you will. The sky is not 100% clear, but good to know Tom was rearing up and getting excited to trade again because he's kind of taken a step back, and it'd be good to get the trading for everybody again. Right? So there's your numbers on NVIDIA, 200.55, Apple 270.55, TQQQ 111.11, Amazon 250.55, Tesla 452.55. How do we use this? Tom also posts a moneymaker into the TNT. He gave a 68.45 number in the top side. So we immediately know where the next resistance is if we can get above that midpoint level. So if we get above 68.29, markets should try to track up to 45. And he gave a 67.75 downside. So we don't want to see the S&P go below 75. If it did, it would track down to that low of the month. The low of the reference bar this morning is 67.90. So it held that low of 75. But the question is, are any of these stocks showing relative strength? And I posted the custom table below about 15 minutes ago. So we can see here that the S&P, when I marked this, was trading at 68.25. I'll just circle the last traded price here at the time. So 68.25 was the S&P. NVIDIA was trading at 202.75. So if we take that, NVIDIA 202.75, S&P 68.25. We look up here and we say, well, the moneymaker said if the S&P got 20 points higher to 45, NVIDIA would be trading at 201. So the S&P is 20 points shy of this moneymaker target, but NVIDIA is almost $3 higher. So NVIDIA is showing great relative strength. You heard yesterday that, or one of the recent days, maybe it was Friday, that NVIDIA is Tom's kind of top stock for the last 2 months of the year. It's already showing some relative strength. We look at Apple, and 269 quarter or so was where it was trading. Up here, number was 273.28. So S&P is 20 points shy. Apple is 4 points shy. So we can't really reason anything from Apple on that. Cross that one off the board. TQQQ was 112.90. Number was 113. So the TQQ is showing a little relative strength. We know this because if the S&P went up 20 more points, TQQQ would almost certainly go up more than 30 cents. Amazon 248. Can't really reason anything with that. And Tesla 446. Tesla's not on the board, but you get the idea of how you can use this. I showed this, I don't know if it was yesterday or maybe it was Friday. Showed you this. I've actually got an entire workspace on the roadmap dedicated for this every morning, just to get an idea, okay, what stocks are stronger, what stocks are weaker. Any questions on that? Main takeaway, NVIDIA looks pretty good. Would expect it to head higher especially if we get above that resistance on the S&P, 68.29. All right, so how's the market setting up so far this month? Today is day 3, as Tom just said. Today's day 3 of November, trade day 3, that is. So I've got the November spreadsheet here. We'll go look at it. Let's see if you can make sure you can see this. Yep. And I'll just share the link in the chat for you. There's a lot of information that we've added. This morning. And there's the link in the chat. So let's review what is all on this sheet, and we'll just use the S&P. We have the October open, the open of the quarter, 67.25 there. It's going to remain there because it's a big number. We have October's midpoint. Just because our study of midpoints, we want to keep reiterating that the midpoint is an important number. And keep in mind, we're trading right now about 68.16. So we're above the October open, we're above the October midpoint. November open at 68.78. So we're below the open of this month. 68.78 is the open of the month. Coming into today, the 2-day high and 2-day low was 69.09 half and 67.86 quarter. And the midpoint coming into today was 68.48. Today's high is 68.31 and low is 67.48. So we've made a new low. See that? The 2-day low coming into the day was 67.86. We've made a new low today. So in terms of getting out of our lower low, lower high pattern, we haven't quite got there yet, have we? All right. We're going to need to see that market back above the open of the month, which is 68.78, because the high yesterday was 68.84. Now, if I keep going over to the right, the high and low so far for the month, 69.09, 67.48 is the low. Of course, there's your 68.29 midpoint. At the time I did this, the market was trading 68.28, 27, excuse me. So I've got all of this on here for all of these stocks. It'll change a little bit tomorrow. I'll get rid of the 2-day high, 2-day low, 2-day mid. It'll just be, and I'll get rid of today's high and today's low. It'll just be the October open, mid, November open. Then you'll see FTD high and low, maybe November mid. I think last month we had a monthly high, monthly low. That was nice. And then I'll move these columns over here to the left, which will tell us if any stock is above the 3-day high or below the 3-day high. So we'll talk again tomorrow about the first 3 days spreadsheet because it'll change a little bit. But do you have any questions on the numbers so far? No questions? Okay, good deal. Now, I think it was the afternoon session yesterday where we're talking a lot about when we're in in a situation where, like I just mentioned, the skies are not 100% clear yet, right? So when the skies are not 100% clear, you need to be very cautious, in my opinion, of trading call options or debit trades. If you know how options work, if you spend any time watching options, they when the market's heading higher and all systems go, they usually price up the options pretty good for you. And you can buy calls and make money or buy call spreads and make money. When the skies aren't 100% clear, you're probably better off selling put spreads if you want to be bullish or selling call spreads if you want to be bearish. So keep that in mind as we go through these first trade days of November. We are above, we're right at the midpoint for the month. We're above the midpoint for the day. We're in the top third of today's range. That's all positive signs for, or not all positive signs, but at the top third of today's range is a good sign. We got to get past the midpoint of the month. But we really have to get above the open and eventually above that 3-day high to get more into an all systems go for the month. We can't force anything here, which is why Tom hasn't traded much. All right, any questions on today's information? Hey, Tom, I don't know if you're still there. Chuck, if you're there, you're welcome to chime in. Back to the midpoint, 68.28. Hey, Marge, I'm not sure what you're asking there. If Tom's here, you can look at your question and
Uh, yeah, I think that was watching Kalshi in real time. The Supreme Court decision dropped a little bit, and well, that means you're going to have to do a lot of reworking of the economics, which would probably not be great for the market as a whole. I think that's why Tom was not a fan of Kalshi dropping on that one. How you doing, Jonathan?
doing just fine. Doing just fine, Chuck. So you're up in Birmingham, huh?
Yeah, had an eventful morning so far. I think one of the biggest things that I'm looking at with this market is we've got a lot of unanswered questions. And until we get those answers, we don't really know exactly how the market's going to perform. We've got some good ideas based on the way it's been moving, but there are a lot of balls up in the air right now. And so there's a juggling thing going on, trying to keep all those balls up in the air. We're going to find out how many of them remain. Um, Probably coming up, pretty soon. So should we protect ourselves? Uh, Neil, from a trading perspective, I can answer that. You always have stops in place. You always control risk. You always have those offsets ready to go. Um, from an investment perspective, it's a little bit more complicated. So I would hope that any trader is one of the reasons we kind of stress always having risk management in place is because if something happens and you're not aware that something might happen, then what are you just not managing the risk? Always manage the risk because not everything is planned, and sometimes you can have an event that uh, causes a big reaction in the market that you're not prepared for. So the key to that is always be prepared.
Yeah, I'll give you at least a line in the sand from talking with Tom Neal, 67.25. If we see a market that closes below 67.25 on the S&P futures, then you got a situation where you're due for more correction. I'm not going to say huge correction, but you're due for more correction there. 67.25, set your alerts on that.
On the
That's
other hand, yeah, flip that around, Jonathan. You make a new all-time high. I think that's something you also need to be aware of.
yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Several of these last week. I haven't really seen that many outages. That might be um, the trading platform. See that question? What was that? Yeah, I personally have not experienced that. Jonathan, have you seen any data outages?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
What platform you trade on, Jay? Yeah, I mean, that happens on the Schwab feed from time to time. Could be your internet connection, anything like that. But
Yeah, I would say a lot of times in those sorts of situations, I would look to the internet feed. Yeah, so especially if you're actually getting the data come through to something like Roadmap or the analytic tool, but not on the trading platform, I would look to the trading platform and say that's probably an issue over there.
all right, we just hit Genesis hour. We're at new highs of the day. That's good. 4 out of 5 times, Tom says the Genesis will make a high or make a low. Keep that in mind. But I want to see if this market can squeeze up to 45, 68.45. Got Nvidia at its highs. It's still looking good. Nasdaq at its highs. So this Genesis hour should be pretty telling. Hey, Tom's got a great service he calls the 25-cent trader program. It's got a brand new dashboard that's getting ready to be released. All right. As a few days ago, I heard it was 14 days or so, but it's this 25-cent trader program. It's really, I was very surprised at what Tom was able to do with this. Uh, I'll be honest with you, I was a little skeptical with it, but those small priced options really do move. They really do move. It's impressive how much they move on a percentage basis if you can catch a move. But it's called the 25-cent trader program. Brand new dashboard. It's very cool that we have opening up here probably about 10 days or so. There is a bonus masterclass. I did not know about this. Bonus masterclass tomorrow at 10:30. So prior to train and trade tomorrow at 10:30, we'll do a bonus masterclass for the new and improved 25-cent trader program. I'm going to show a video here in a moment that you can learn more about it because you didn't learn much from that. But you can go to detachable.com/25cent or give us a call at 904-706-3532. Any last questions before we play this video so you can learn more about the 25-cent program?
Well, Jonathan, someone was asking when do we expect to hear from the Supreme Court? We're hearing the oral arguments right now, so we may not get a ruling today. The ruling might take a little bit more time to come out, but you're getting a hint from the oral arguments. That's what the market's reacting to today. So that still could be a little bit away. But just to be clear, at DTI, we do not control the schedule of the Supreme Court. So they will do it on their time, and we'll find out when they do it.
Yep. Bob, the website or the odds betting website is kalshi.com, KALSHI.com. A couple more questions here. Where is the ES pivot now? Wendy is still 68.11. 68.11 is Tom's pivot today. Still right there. 68.11. Can the roadmap work with the Ameritrade? Yes, I'm actually using the Schwab data feed now, Dr. Bombay. Works great. Schwab has a brand new feed that we're able to plug into the roadmap. It's fantastic. Tesla just hit 452.55. That was Tom's trigger on the Magic 5 today, just for your information. All right. So let's play this video. And all you folks in the live trading with T-Buzz, we'll see you this afternoon at 1:30 Eastern Time.